All right, there we go. Finally got this working. Hey, good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, October 8th, 2019, and you are watching Hitting the Wall. I am your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Well, I don't know why I said us. It's just me. Clearly, it's just me down here. So, yeah, sorry. No guests this week, just me. First thing I wanted to start with tonight is a very special happy birthday to my oldest daughter. She is about to turn 13. God save us all. Her birthday is Friday. Not ready for it. Not even remotely prepared to have a 13-year-old in the house. That just frightens me greatly. So just please send all your thoughts, prayers, and happy juju my way, because having a 13-year-old has already made my hair fall out. That happened a long time ago. So I don't expect that situation's going to get any better. So happy birthday to my oldest on Friday. Yeah, I'm trying to be excited about it, but she's going to be 13. And she's already got a teenager's attitude, and it just hurts. It's painful. It makes me sad. No, it doesn't. I'm kidding. So, yeah, happy birthday to her. I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in tonight. I don't have any guests that I need to thank for last week, because it was just myself sitting here. I am going to let you all know right now. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Just wanted to let you know the hat. You know, every year we get the NFL hat supporting all the various forms of cancer research. And so definitely got that going, the Crucial Catch hat. And see, they don't just do pink, they do all the colors. So nothing but love here for all the cancer research and anyone who's going through it. We've all lost people to cancer, and hopefully that will end very soon, because yeah, it's great time to raise awareness. And I know October is a big month for that, so I fully support it. I hope you do too. Now, fast forwarding back to where I was, or rewinding, however you look at it, I'm off tonight. I am going to let you know that for this episode, you can see me right now. I am climbing. I am ascending to the top of my soapbox. I will be on my soapbox this evening. I will be dancing on my soapbox. I will be screaming from my soapbox. And I just want you to know that that's where I'm going to be for this evening. And we're just going to have to deal with that, because this has been something that I've been working on for a little bit, and it might sound kind of preachy, and I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway, because the show has my name on it, and so I can say what I want. So I'm going to, I will dismount at the end. So I'm going to let you know, big time on my soapbox tonight. But I want to ask you this. My question is right now is, what has happened to grace? To just grace. And if you don't like the religious context of the word grace, let's call it this. What happened to basic human decency? Because I swear it is gone. Now, I'm going to drop a truth bomb on every single one of you. I hope you're ready for this. It is a bit earth-shattering. I will grant you that. Here it comes. But you are not perfect. And whoa, mind blown. Okay, I'll give you a minute to process that. But in very not surprising news, neither am I. And I certainly don't claim to be. I accepted that I am not perfect a long time ago. And I know that you're not going to find that at all shocking to hear. But I have just been shocked and amazed lately at the lack of grace or compassion or the aforementioned human decency, that it is just gone in today's society, in today's world. And I've got just a few examples kind of on a national scale, on a big time scale, and then some more closely relatable to some of us. My favorite band in all the world is Metallica. Okay, I grew up with that. First started listening to them in the late 80s and the early 90s, and they're still going, so I'm still a fan. But their lead singer, Hetfield, just had to check himself in to rehab, because they've almost been around for 40 years. And for 40 years, I know that he has fought the demons and the things that, you know, rockers in the 80s kind of got into and had a very hard time getting out of. And so he checked himself into rehab, which is the absolute right thing to do. They had to cancel some of their Australia tour. That is unfortunate. But again, it's canceled so he can do the things he needs to do to get better and get back out on the road and on their touring. The backlash that he has gotten, and just the awful snarkiness and just general disdain from people it's been surprising to me. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised by these things anymore, but I was. He has gotten called just about every name under the sun, all the way to the point where people are still bringing up the whole Metallica versus Napster thing from 20 years ago. And they're still using that against him while this guy is out there actively trying to get help for his issues. So I thought that was kind of unfortunate, for lack of a better term. This guy's trying to do what's right. And of course, he's just getting slammed from every direction for getting help and for even having the problem in the first place. And y'all, we all have our issues. We don't live in the public light like some of these people do. So for people to really jump on him, it's ridiculous, because these same people, if they were in that same light, would probably crumble. They would crumble under that spotlight and under the weight that some of these people have to carry. And some of them do crumble because it is so much. The next one, this goes beyond just beyond bad attitudes, or just kind of the downness of society right now. But did you guys hear about a kid named Cassine Morris? Okay, so he was killed, I think last week. No, he was killed at the end of September. He was stabbed to death. And do you think that of the reported 50 to 70 people who witnessed this, anybody helped him at all? No, it was live streamed. It was live streamed on social media. Instead of whipping out a phone to call 911, everyone whipped out their phone to record and take pictures. Now, I think that is about the most tragic thing that I've heard in a very long time. This guy was jumped by 6 or 7 people, and between 50 and 70 onlookers watched, some recorded on their phones, and then footage of the incident went around Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter, and people just videoed his death instead of helping him. That's kind of how far off the deep end of society that we have gone. And then the last one that I'll mention of the national variety was actually just today. It was, and I'm sure everybody's heard about it by now, it was the deal with Ellen DeGeneres. Okay, so Ellen DeGeneres, if you haven't heard about this, the host of Ellen, one of the biggest talk shows going right now, she was filmed and pictured and was there in front of the world to see on Sunday in Dallas, Texas, watching the Dallas Cowboys take on the Green Bay Packers, and sitting directly next to her was former President George Bush. And they are filmed and videoed and all this, laughing and talking and chatting and watching a football game together. And it sent people into hysterics. People have lost their mind with the venom that they have spewed in her direction, and then I'm sure in his. I am sure that he has caught his fair share of flack for even having the audacity to sit next to an openly gay woman, whereas she has gotten tons of venom spewed at her for sitting next to an openly Republican. And so we're going to come back to that in a little bit, but if you haven't heard about that, that's what happened. These two watched a football game together, and the internet exploded. And again, with just the hate and the vitriol that was just spewed in their direction. Then again, we're gonna come back to that. And I know that those are big on the national scale, but let's get a little closer to everyday stuff that we can associate with. And it's let's see, it's happening more to us, and it's kind of it's inflicting our behavior. So here we go. Okay, so in today's world of hashtags and stuff, I'm going to introduce a new one. Well, it's not really a new one, but it's one that I'm going to use for today. In the world of hashtag activism, there's the hashtag he for she, and hashtag Black Lives Matter, and hashtag Me Too. Well, there's one that I'm going to offer up for tonight's show, and I even wrote it down to show off my terrible artistic ability. There we go. Hashtag toxic negativity. That is what we are going to talk about tonight, is this world of toxic negativity. Okay, so we all know that there are toxic people, all right? There's toxic people. If you don't know what the toxic people look like, here's just a real quick list of what people identify as a toxic person. A person who will never take responsibility, a person who is manipulative, they never apologize for the things they do wrong, maybe they're judgmental, they make you defend yourself for the things that you do. They never support you. They're inconsistent. They judge a lot. and we all know that. They don't listen. They interrupt. They never admit defeat. They never go out of their way for you. They need to have all eyes on them, so they like the attention. They can't get out of their own way, and they're just overall mean people. Okay, so those are the traits of a toxic individual. Yeah, but I instead of talking about like the individual, I just kind of wanted to talk about this toxic negativity in society on the whole, not just an individual. And what I've noticed, one of the big things that we're doing to each other right now that I think is a very toxic thing, and this is my opinion, you guys can disagree all you want. I've noticed that we have to label each other now. Now, if we come across someone that we don't necessarily agree with, we have to label them in order to kind of negate their opinions or their views. If you're a Republican, you have to refer to a liberal Democrat as a snowflake. And so, oh, they're delicate and they think they're unique, and so they're snowflakes. All right, so you've labeled them a snowflake so that whatever they may think about a subject, you can brush it away. And then on the other side, the Democrats then have labeled all the Republicans as deplorables or degenerates. And I know that really caught on during the last presidential election. So again, you're taking this person and based on nothing but their political opinion, you're saying that they're a deplorable person, which is kind of a heavy insult right there. That's not very nice. Or a degenerate, which is also not nice. So we've got snowflakes and deplorables. Because we disagree with each other, we have to assign a label. Okay, so we do these things so that we can easily distance ourselves from that person and automatically take their opinion of a situation and just kind of marginalize it. And we can just place it below ours. Okay, my opinion is better because they are a this, and therefore they're underneath me. Now, I think this is way more fun when we keep it in the sports world. Like, for example, I am a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Therefore, I am superior to any Denver Broncos fans that might come across this. And, that's common knowledge that as a Chiefs fan, I am way up here and Broncos fans are way down here, right? It's just more fun when it's in the sports world. Is there any truth to that? No, we're just football fans. But that's where the fun stuff comes from. That's when labeling seems to be okay. But in today's world, there are people now fighting over things like that. They're fighting over the sports world. Not an NFL week has gone by where you don't get the cell phone videos of fights breaking out in the stands. Because again, we're taking even our love of sports and assigning, I'm better than you, and if you don't agree with me, apparently we have to resort to violence. And so with social media, everyone's got an outlet to spew their negativity all across all the platforms and then get in front of as many eyes as possible. And I know, I understand the hypocrisy of what I just said as I'm sitting here on a podcast spewing my nonsense to all of you. But to be fair, you chose to listen. So, I mean, it's a good choice, but you chose to listen. So, but the situation with like Ellen, it was a prime example because, one of the picture from Sunday of her laughing with a Republican and her being, a staunch liberal LGBTQ community person out of Hollywood, it sent the entire Twitter universe a buzz. And she actually got labeled, like this is direct quote, she got labeled as a traitor to the LGBTQ community. Okay, if you can believe that. And I mean, honestly, I think this woman's probably done more for that community than a lot of other people. I won't say anyone, but I will say a lot of other people. And so just a quick story I have here, and this kind of is going to get us around to our point this evening. So when I went to Las Vegas a couple months ago, my group of friends that I went with, they wanted to see a comedian that they are very fond of. Okay. I had never heard of this guy before, but hey, it was our first night in Vegas. It's go to a comedy show. I think we paid for the all-inclusive drink package. And so, hey, we're going to go have a good time seeing a comedian in Vegas. Okay, so the majority of my friends that went, maybe even all of them, but definitely the majority, they do not agree with me on political issues. We lean to different sides of the political spectrum. I know that I'm kind of the minority in that group by way of political view only. And so the comedian that we saw, he leaned very far in the direction of my friends, okay, in the directions favorable to that group of friends. And so I found most of his act to be unfunny. Like, he didn't do much for me. and quite frankly, he was insulting. I thought, and I know a lot of comedians have made their living off being insulting, but this was a different kind of insulting that I think leads into what we're talking about, this toxic negativity. And so the just thinking about this is like, good grief. But one of the jokes that he told, and this is just the stuff that I do not agree with at all on any side, is, okay, so he is a white guy. He married a black woman, and his joke was that he married a black woman so that they could have a mixed race child, so he can then help to eliminate the white race. Again, as a big history buff as I am, anytime that you are even joking about eliminating a race, this harkens back to some of the worst tragedies faced on this earth. And so for that to just be a joke in this guy's stand-up routine, it did not sit well with me at all. That kind of humor is not funny to me. So, most of his show was insulting to people who lean in my direction, who don't have the same political beliefs that he does. And so now I don't really care what your beliefs are politically. You can have yours. I'm allowed to have mine. But I'm not ever going to sit there and joke about the extermination of the other side of the political aisle, because, again, that's not funny. That's negative. And I think that's toxically negative to sit there and put those kind of views and opinions in other people's heads. And, again, it got a response from about 50% of the crowd. And then I'd say half the crowd was like me and sitting there rather uncomfortably. But the problem is that, or one of the many, is that the environment for people who responded to, okay, so this guy, he tells these jokes for a living. He knows he's going to get about half the people to respond positively and half the people to respond negatively. And either way, people are going to leave this show talking about it. And again, they're either going to talk about it positively or negatively. So my response to this show after the fact, it was not to go and blow up this guy on Twitter. I certainly didn't hunt him down on his Facebook page and try and get in his face and point fingers at him, tell him he's wrong or call him names or any of that. That only would have matched what I felt like his negative behavior was with my own. It would have just been trading a negative for a negative. And at this point, I felt that there was enough negativity involved in that evening that I didn't need to pour on top of it. The guy can have his opinions, he can have his jokes, and he can have the people respond to it the way that they want to respond to it. But I didn't feel like I needed to take it upon myself to, point out the error in his thinking. Like, to the point that after the show, because this was just in a tiny little club, this was no big thing, the guy was actually out there, signing autographs and taking pictures with people. And so my group, who were big fans of this guy, they wanted to take a big group picture with it. Now, I could have thrown myself a little hissy fit and said, no, I didn't think this guy was funny. I didn't do any of that. I got in the group picture on the other end. I smiled, I posed, and we took our picture. And, and I'm glad my friends had a good time. But it wasn't my kind of thing. And I think that's the negativity that he was spewing. Had I responded to it with my own, it would have it wouldn't have served any purpose. And so it's more negativity leading to more negativity, which we're kind of seeing all over the place. So what we're doing when we come across the negativity in our lives is responding to it with our own, as I pointed out, with politics and now comedy. And then in another place of life where we just aren't responding with, or we're responding with equal amounts of negativity, we're trying to up the negativity game. Okay, so again, in the politics world, we elected a cartoon character to the White House. And I've said that. I've been saying that for a long time. Our president is a cartoon character. In response, people now voted in 4 nut jobs on the other side who are trying to counteract all of his cartoonish behavior with their own even more aggressive cartoonish behavior. And so what we've done is we've got 2 negatives ultimately knocking into each other, and nobody's going to win with this. Okay, so I found it funny today with the whole Ellen situation. Talking fast. I'm doing fine on time, but I'm just flying through this. Sorry. But I found it funny today with the Ellen situation that occurred. I found it funny that it occurred today, actually. It added to what I was going to talk about today, even though I'd already had this topic and show kind of in mind. But, sadly, I don't have a daily talk show where I can, talk to people about this. She does. I don't. So she came out and she gave her explanation today from the whole outcry of it. And if you haven't seen the video of that, I highly recommend that you go find it. You can find it everywhere. I've seen like 50 people repost it on Facebook. And Ellen really nailed the response. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Her response was great. She makes it very clear that she has friends from all walks of life. And even if it's people that she doesn't agree with or they don't agree with her, they can have a mutual respect and a basic human decency towards each other. She actually says that former President Bush is her friend. Okay, and friends do not always see eye to eye. Goodness knows we all know that's true. But a friendship must remain stronger than the differences, and that's exactly what happened with her. Okay, and so I applaud Ellen. I applaud former President Bush. I think the situation is really a wonderful representation of what we can be when we decide to end the toxic negativity and maybe sprinkle in a little toxic positivity. I don't know if that's a thing, but I just made a thing. So that's what I wanted to be on my soapbox about tonight. Was really, I think that we're kind of falling to pot here as a nation, even as a community, because everyone is so quick to jump to the negative side of any argument, situation, debate, world event. We've all just gotten so negative. So perfectly timed and perfectly placed was the Ellen and President Bush situation, where you can actually see, hey, two people from insanely different walks of life who are friends, and even though the situation was bad, neither of them responded to it with a negative mindset, with negative words, with negative responses. They both took high roads, and it's a good example. And I think it was perfectly placed today, given what I was going to try and talk about tonight. And I know that I fumbled through most of this evening. I have no idea what was wrong with me today, but what are you going to do? I'm going to blame it on having a soon-to-be 13-year-old. I think it has fried my brain. That, and it's warm down here, and I'm in a sweatshirt, so I'm actually kind of hot now. So anyway, that's what I was going to go over. Next week, we will have Joe on the program. Even though Joe doesn't seem to be joining us live anymore, I guess he can still come on. But he's going to have to turn around this negative behavior, because he really needs to be one of the live participants on the show every week. Terrible. And he did want me to mention that he is preaching at Westside Leavenworth on Sunday morning. He would love to see smiling, hitting the wall fans in the stands. Actually, it's not stands, it's chairs. But if anyone wants to go, he is doing a sermon on parenting, and he would love for people to come out and say hello and see him. And I'll be heading out there, so you guys can head out there, and we'll all just head out there. Right? Chat room was quiet today, so I don't have anything else I need to address. See, Jenny jumped in with yes. So more love for Ellen. That was good stuff. So to the people that I see join me, Jenny, Kelly, Kathy, Penny, Brian, Jessica, Tiffany, Elizabeth, Rebecca, and I already mentioned Jenny. Thank you all very much. I do appreciate it, as always. I'm sorry the website is behind right now. You guys can go to the website. We'll get it updated as soon as we can. I know that the promotions people have been busy with other things, so we'll get the website updated. And I see people coming in here right about now, but like, we're done. Like, sorry, you're late. Watch the replay. What are you doing? Get here on time. 8 o'clock, y'all. 8 o'clock Central Time. I know you can do this. Killing me. All right, hey, thanks everyone for joining me. Like I said last week, I'm sticking to it because it's still an issue. Don't text and drive. Be safe. I'll see you guys next week. Joe will be on. We're going to talk about some such nonsense or another. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Bye, everybody.